Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks. Jack and Keith, the weekend playbook. Great to have you with us. Sorry we had a couple of technical glitches, so we're a minute later but I welcome in Hall of Fame boxing writer and all-around sports encyclopedia. Jack wanted me to stop just focusing on boxing.
I use the word analyst because with all the mistakes that I make, that sounds better.
Jack Hirsch. Good morning, Jack. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Keith.
Speaking of glitches, no glitches last night. And maybe there were glitches. I don't know. You got a matchup last night of, I don't know if this is one of the oldest quarterback matchups ever, but 40-year-old Joe Flacco and 40-whatever-year-old Aaron Rodgers got in a shootout last night, and maybe we had a better game than we thought we were going to have. Steelers still showing a lot of leaks on defense. Bengals ran the ball well. Flacco threw for a bunch of yards, 3 touchdowns. Jamar Chase just went off. The Bengals, maybe they are out of this race in the North because that's not a great division.
Hey, Keith, in all due respect to Joe Flacco, I could have thrown for 121 yards. Had I quarterback yesterday. I mean, let's put it in perspective, honestly speaking. People want to get carried away to older quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers is still a starting NFL caliber quarterback. He's still good enough to start. He proved it yesterday. He's been proving it throughout the season. Is he the Aaron Rodgers of old, the Aaron Rodgers in his prime? Probably not, but he can still get the job done. He's still good. Joe Flacco is serviceable. He did what a backup is supposed to do. He went against an awful Steelers defense, and he exploited it. Jamar Chase went crazy, 16 receptions. Who couldn't find Jamar Chase? Wow. The Steelers couldn't stop the run for anything. They were awful against the run, so he just had to hand the darn ball off. And Flacco played a good game. Kudos to Flacco. But again, we get carried away, Keith. We always get carried away with what have you done for me lately on the last game. We've seen this with Flacco a couple of seasons ago when he was in Cleveland. They won a few games when he was their backup. People were going crazy about him.
Listen, I can go all the way back to his Super Bowl victory. People were going crazy about him, comparing him to Tom Brady when he won one. I mean, he
was a legitimate. No. At that time, Flacco was a legitimate starting NFL quarterback and a good one at that time.
I've never been a big fan, and as he's grown older, I'm kind of surprised he keeps getting a call. He's kind of like Earl Morrall and Don Strock down there in Miami. They just keep, seem to get, reborn every year.
Better than Don Strock, not as good as Earl Morrall, probably coming as a backup. But keep this in mind, when Flacco left the Ravens, he kicked around all over. He had 2 stints at Cleveland. He had a stint with the Eagles. He had a stint with the Jets. Did anyone stop and think if Flacco had so much in the tank, he wouldn't be kicking around all over the place? But he'll help the Bengals, and they're going to win games with him going forward, Keith, because they have a high-powered offense. They are going to win games, but when they get to a big game against a really top-of-the-line defense, they're going to fizzle out the Bengals at that point, unless they have Joe Burrow back.
And that's kind of the question. Is there going to be a big game for the Bengals going forward? Are they in this race or not? I don't think they're
in the race because the schedule favors them short term. Yesterday kept them alive, their win. The Steelers could have put some serious distance between themselves and the Bengals, and they didn't. What do you make out of the Steelers, Keith? The problem going into the year was how much offense they were going to generate. We wondered about their running game. We said outside of DK Metcalf, do they have any receivers? In all due respect to Scotty Miller, we asked that question.
Yes.
And Aaron Rodgers has played, pretty well. He's managed games for the most part, but he showed yesterday he can open things up when he really has to.
And they've run the ball. They've run the ball pretty well, I think. I mean, Jalen Warren had a nice night last night as well. We focus on Rodgers, but Warren ran for 140 almost yards. And That's a big. For Aaron Rodgers can't go out there and air it out 50 times a game anymore, right? They need to be able to run the football, but at the same time, and maybe that's the answer for the defense is to keep them off the field because this team is not. Rick, as far as I know, we have sound, so
Yeah.
I can check something real quick. But
you're going to stop the show for Rick. You're going to stop.
I just wanted to double check that because we had no
We're
sound.
talking about the Vikings, okay, but not the Steelers and the Bengals.
Right. Maybe that's what he was waiting for.
The Steelers defense, they're going to have to start tightening up against the run. We kept hearing that about the Dallas Cowboys, trouble stopping the run. That's the one area you can't be weak in stopping the run in this league because
100%.
if you don't stop the run, you're not going anywhere because the other team can control the ball, have time of possession, pick their spots. You can get away with being so in the secondary, but you can't. Yeah, if you can't stop the run, then you have real problems. And the Steelers are going to have to make the adjustments, but I think they will.
My big question about the Steelers is what the same question I've had for a few years is I still feel like it's a team without an identity. They don't. Right? Defense and running the football was their identity for even when Roethlisberger was there. That was still their identity, right? Tough football. And it just feels like they're still searching for that identity. It's not Rodgers. It's not Rodgers or nothing. I mean, they do run the ball sometimes pretty well like last night, but the defense just never seems to show up. I mean, maybe that's their identity. Maybe they're the 80s San Diego Chargers. I don't know, but this isn't a team. If they win this division, is this a championship contending team?
No, and I didn't think they would. I thought they'd have a losing season this year, and I went out on the record as saying I thought with Rodgers it would be a one-year thing, one and done. It would be Mike Tomlin's last year, and maybe the wheels will come off with the Steelers. We don't know. We see that happen with teams now and then. The wheels suddenly come off. They get off to a fairly decent start, and then they fall apart. Just like we see teams conversely play very poorly for 5-6 games and then get it all together, like the Bengals traditionally do. But Mike Tomlin always finds a way at Pittsburgh, always finds a way. Also, you kind of wonder with TJ Watt. I mean, he's considered a superstar and paid as such. When is he going to start playing that way again? I don't want to hear, well, TJ Watt's a little hurt. He's this, he's that. I want him to be a force. I want him to anchor that defense. I want him to get it all together. And yesterday, that loss had to really hurt. Really, really hurt. I think Cam Hayward said it best. When your team scores 30 points, you expect it to win.
When the Steelers score 30 points, it's always.
Yeah, I mean, that's a novelty. I mean, credit Rodgers and the Steeler offense. They did do their job yesterday. They opened things up and succeeded, but the defense just failed to hold even on the final drive as throughout the game.
Billy, I don't know what you're whatting about, Billy. I have no idea. So I need a little more information. To TJ Watt real quick. I don't know if it's so much TJ Watt not doing his job and earning his pay, or it's just the players around him that other teams are able to take TJ Watt out of the game. But again, great players, find a way to battle through that as well and make a mark in the game. So maybe he needs to step up, as you said.
Keith, if you're one of the highest paid players in the game, I don't want you to turn in a good performance. I don't want you to come back and say, well, I played well. I don't want to hear you played well. I want to hear you played great.
Yeah.
That's what I want the evaluation.
That's fair. Maybe he'll end up on the Jets. Maybe that's where he belongs. So let's any other takeaways? This game again, I find it hard to get excited about this division because I don't feel anybody's in. I don't think the Steelers are as good as their record says they are, but
well, that's why as crazy as this sounds, as insane as it sounds, the Baltimore Ravens at 1-5 still got a shot to win the division. They just got that. They have to bye week. Then Lamar Jackson will be back, and when Lamar Jackson coming back from the injury, signifies a new beginning for the Ravens, a new hope. And they badly needed the bye. And with Lamar Jackson coming back, let them win a game and then let them take it from there. And 9-8 can win that division still.
One loss in the division, too. That's it. They've only
And
lost
one loss, exactly. And you take it a game at a time. That's all you do with the Ravens. The Ravens are good enough to, go on a streak where they win 7 out of 8, 7 out of 9. That puts them right in the thick of things, and maybe puts them in first place, when all is said and done.
Yeah, that's okay, Rick. No problem. I'd rather you bring it up, Rick, than don't, because then I can check it and make sure we do have sound or something. So, speaking of the Ravens, so they're still in this. And we talked about it on Wednesday night's professional sports show. Coach is in trouble. I keep saying John Harbaugh. Should John Harbaugh really be in trouble? Do people in Baltimore want him fired? I'd be shocked.
I don't like to call for a guy to get fired unless he's done something so outlandish that a team absolutely has to move on from him because he disgraced the organization, or you see there's no hope on the horizon. People are calling for Mike McDaniel to get fired. I know Stephen A. Smith called for Mike McDaniel to get fired. Stephen A. also called many years ago for Marvin Lewis to get fired after the Bengals lost the playoff game. Okay, and never mind that the Bengals had been to the playoffs year after year after year.
In fairness to Stephen A., and I don't have to defend him, they lost every year after year after year in the playoffs, too. That's why
the Dolphins made the playoffs the year before. Look, the Dolphins weren't expected to have a good year. Let's see whether they get it together in Miami. I'm going to say this. I have not seen the Miami Dolphin players turn on Mike McDaniel. We haven't seen that. I know Tua made the remark, but Tua made the remark independently, and the other players, they didn't back Tua up. They got mad at Tua for making the remarks. They actually backed up Mike McDaniel, it seemed.
For Tua's whole comments, it seemed to be like out of sorts anyway, because he started talking and mostly was talking about a players-only meeting. That's what he was talking about, players. And he wasn't talking about coaches. He threw the coaches in later, but he was talking about the leaders on the team, which, by the way, your quarterback has to be one of those guys. You better be pointing the finger at yourself as well. And then Tua tries to walk it back. But
you have to be careful what you say. Sometimes you say something and the words come out a certain way where you don't mean to put anyone down. Look, there was never any love lost between Tiki Bob and Tom Coughlin. And I remember when the Giants got shut out in the playoff game, I think by the Carolina Panthers, before the Giants had won their 2 Super Bowls under Coughlin. Tiki Barber said, we got outplayed and outcoached. Now, he wasn't lying. Obviously, they got outplayed and they did get outcoached, but he didn't mean it to be a shot at the coaching staff per se. He was just telling the truth, but it embarrasses the coaching staff if he just said we got outplayed. And then the coaching staff wouldn't have gotten mad, but they don't want to think, well, we got outcoached, we got outsmarted by the other coaches. So you kind of got to watch the terminology. And when Tua said guys are coming and going as they want, they come late to meetings, it just gave it a bad look.
That throws McDaniel directly under the bus.
I know what McDaniel should have done. If McDaniel truly has the players on his side, and I'm speculating he does, I'm not sure, but judging by their reaction going against Tua, this would have sent a great, powerful message to the team. Don't start Tua the next game. Say, maybe you'll learn to keep your mouth shut. Go with your backup. Keep them on the sideline for at least a quarter. And if the team is doing well, continue to keep them there and maybe win the game without them.
Yeah. It's funny. I have no problem necessarily with guys speaking out. but you better damn make sure that it's clear you're talking about yourself along with everybody else you're throwing under the bus. I'm okay if you're including yourself. And he didn't do that enough for me. He's got a big C. He's got a big C on his jersey. He has to be a leader. And when you're talking about leaders not leading, you better say me too.
You said it best, Keith. You didn't state it enough. It was him. You know, players do that, and they get away with it to an extent by saying, well, we all have to do this and that, and I include myself. Like you attack everyone else, and then you casually, oh, by the way, me too. You know, you gloss over yourself very quickly, but you mention yourself so you cover your tracks. And no, I said myself too.
The guys I respect are the guys, it starts with me and then goes on, right? That's where they should be.
Everyone
coaches
sees
too.
What's going on. Tua just has to say, look, we have to be better. I know I'm not doing my job the way I have to do it. I have to do this. I have to do that. And that's fine because everyone's going to notice it's the whole team involved.
Right.
But to say, well, they didn't do this, they didn't do that, we didn't do that, the coaches did no, and I'm responsible for things as well. Like you throw yourself in as an afterthought. That doesn't do it for me, but whatever. Look, let's see how the Dolphins respond this week. They play the Cleveland Browns at Cleveland. Both teams badly need a win at this point of the season, even though neither's going to the playoffs. But it's kind of an interesting game in a way. The drama from both ends. The Cleveland Browns always have their quarterback drama, and now the Miami Dolphins have some drama as well.
That's going to go on all year. By the way, I got to give you credit. You did a great giant anecdote, the minute Linda said good morning this morning. So good morning, Linda. You find a way to keep Mac involved in the show, and I like that so much.
Listen, Mac, I'll say this, and this isn't a dig at Mac because I'm the same way. I'm sounding like Tua now. He overreacts on some of the quarterback situations in the league. You know, we had a lot of fun. You had a lot of fun with him with Joe Milton. He plays one big game for the Patriots.
Zappy and Milton. He loves
Zappy and Milton. Joshua Dobbs had a couple game or two good for the Vikings, and Mac got a little excited. But he did know his college quarterback who should be drafted and who didn't. He was pretty sharp in that department.
Yeah, well, he'll be hearing about it when Will Levis does step up. That's all I'm going to say about that. I don't know when that will be.
He's looking down, still evaluating.
I might be with him by the time Will Levis hits it big, I can tell you. So, what else in the NFL? I mean, there's some decent matchups this weekend. Let's go to the Jets.
Every matchup is good now, Keith, at this point of the season.
Well,
every matchup has a storyline behind
other than
it.
you and Sonia, is everybody excited about the Panthers and Jets? I mean, this is a Jets. Again, I said this last week. The Jets got to win a game somewhere, right? Panthers haven't won on the road, and I like them to get better. I don't think they're a great team by any stretch of maybe not even a good team. I think, speaking of overreacting, I know Sonia had a lot of fun with her team being 3-0 at home. Okay, but they're 3-3. They come to the Jets this week. Jets don't have a lot of places they're looking at a win. This should be one of them.
Yeah, they certainly have a good chance in this game at home against the Panthers. Let me say something, Keith, and I'm going to be critical of you, Keith.
That's okay.
You and most others, because the majority of people, the vast majority, side with you on this. So you're not alone when I'm critical. I was so happy to hear Boomer Esiason, who's more qualified to talk about quarterbacks than you and I, speak about the Jets last week and the way Aaron Glenn handled Justin Fields' situation. He thought at halftime, take Fields out of the game. He's doing dreadful. Put in Tyrod Taylor, and if Taylor wins you the game, start Fields next week again. Start him next week again. These coaches are running scared of the media. Once you sit down a starting quarterback, everyone overreacts. Oh, who's going to start next week? He doesn't have confidence in him. You know, it is okay to pull out a quarterback, a starting quarterback, and put in your backup, and you can do it during the game. They do it in baseball for relief pitchers. They sit down NBA players.
Well,
They take them, they sit them down if they're in a cold streak and put in someone else. Why can't they do it with a quarterback?
Wow, that was quite a rant there, Jack.
Yeah, I'm annoyed finally. We lost the game yesterday because Glenn didn't want to hurt Justin Fields' feelings and deal with the media on the subject.
I do not disagree at all that when a quarterback, especially one like Justin Fields, it's different pulling out Tom Brady than pulling out Justin Fields, right? 100%. You can agree with me there. I have never been necessarily against pulling quarterbacks. You have told me here, though, that you can't sit a guy down or you're going to lose him if you sit him down. You can't. If you sit down a rookie quarterback when he's playing poorly, you're going to lose him. You've told me that.
No, you won't lose him. He'll come back next week. You start him.
I've always said the same exact thing. There's no reason you can't let a guy watch for a while. I said it about Volpe in baseball. Sit him down, and you say, no, you can't sit him down and let him watch because then you're going to lose your player.
No, you prepare them for the eventuality. Even if I have a veteran, let's say I'm coaching Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to sit, and I have a very competent backup. I'm going to say, Patrick, I know this sounds crazy. It sounds insane. But if I ever see there's a game where you just don't have it that day, it's like crazy. You're completely off form. And we need a spark. I might possibly take you out, even though I think you're one of the greatest of all time. The greatest players of all time. No. Something is off sometimes during a game.
See, that I cannot get on board with because I have watched and again, I'm going to go back to Tom Brady. I know he's been retired for a bunch of years, but listen, he had a lot of games where he played like crap for 3.5 quarters, but then he got it together and had a great 2 drives to bring this team back. When you're talking about, he would have been sitting on the sidelines. And again, so a Mahomes, a Brady, even a Rodgers, whoever you want to throw out there, that's different than Justin Fields or.
You're right. Wait, let me backtrack. Right. Mahomes is a bad example. Yeah, you got me on that one. No, let me backtrack.
Be over 30.
I meant to say I got a little carried away. Not in the case of a Mahomes or Brady. These guys are so legendary. They have to be out there every opportunity to get it together. But there are exceptions. If you have a Joe Montana, but Steve Young is your backup and Montana is struggling. If you have the type of outstanding backup, then on a given day, like a Jim Kelly is struggling, but you have a Frank Reich. If you have Drew Bledsoe, who's now backing up Tom Brady, and Brady is struggling badly, you could allow a Bledsoe to give you a spark during that early year that he was there when he fell behind Brady on the depth chart. I mean, something like that. But this applies much more obviously to your normal quarterback. Yeah. In the case of Justin Fields, you shouldn't be so tied into Justin Fields. You got to win the game, first of all. The game is more important than Justin Fields' long-term feelings. In the case of Brady, I stand to get corrected. I want what I said to be deleted completely from the record because it didn't make.
No.
The more I think of what I said, it doesn't apply to the great ones.
Because
the great ones get it together, so I apologize about that. You know that's the way I put it. But Justin Fields, win the darn game and then start Fields the next week. That's fine.
One quick thing. This isn't, WFAN and Mike Francesa. The tapes don't disappear, Jack. They stay here and they live forever. So that comment stays forever, just so you know. And again, all these situations, I don't disagree. Justin Fields, I'm not worried. If Justin Fields gets mad, he gets benched. I could care less, right? Every situation is different. I don't even agree with him. To go back a little bit, the Montana Young situation, yeah. I still wouldn't do it there because now and I think that happened there. If Young comes in and plays well, you've created a quarterback controversy, and in those situations, that's a little.
You squelched it. You squelched it when Frank Reich replaced Jim Kelly and led Houston to that. I mean, led the Bills to that historic comeback over Houston in the playoffs. That was historic. They asked him, the way Reich was playing, who's going to be the starting quarterback next week. And Marv Levy, the Buffalo Bill coach, said, let me make this clear. If Jim Kelly is healthy, he's our starting quarterback. End the discussion. He didn't want to talk about it anymore. Jim Kelly is our starting quarterback. There's no opening, no controversy. Let's move on to the next question.
That is a great point. But again, that situation is different than Montana Young situation, because there were two camps in that situation, right? And Young thought he should be playing, and so did some of the coaches.
Hall of Famer. You gotta win the game first and foremost. The game is more important than anyone's feelings. I mean, so many of these coaches are concerned with hurting a player's feelings. But you got to prepare the starters for that possibility. It can't come out of the clear. But if I'm Mike Tomlin, I'll even sit down with Aaron Rodgers and, I'll go out to dinner with him. I'll say, let me pick your brain. This is my philosophy, but I'm not going to do it if this is really going to take you off. If there's ever a game where I feel it's a total off day for you. Have you ever had those days? And if I ever went to the bullpen temporarily, but you're absolutely my guy, how would you feel about that? And if Rodgers said, no way, you ever did that, you'd lose me.
Yeah.
Then I wouldn't do that.
Brian's got a good point. Kelly was injured. We're talking about being taken out for lack of performance, right? Listen, to back up what you're saying, there are situations where I do agree and some I would disagree with. Even on my team, Drake May is obviously our quarterback. If Drake May were to go out and just be horrendous for a half or three quarters, I might say, okay, switch it up. We'll put Joshua Dobbs in to see.
Wait. Keith, come on. Drake May being horrendous is no worse than Tommy DeVito and Joshua Dobbs being good.
Again, depending on who I'm putting in.
Come on. Yeah,
I know we don't have your boy Hoyer there, so
No, I mean, if you had a better backup there, if you had a case of he's starting now for the Vikings, Carson Wentz, but if he was your backup in New England and Drake May has thrown 4 interceptions and the game is still on the line and you're struggling and you need to win the game, and you see, Drake just doesn't have it today. For whatever reason, I would put in a competent backup who could win me the game. You got to win the game. But then you make it clear. It's beyond a shadow of a doubt who's starting. Look what's going on with the 49ers. And your guy with New England.
That's a good situation.
Mac Jones handled it great. They asked him. He said, no way, I'm the backup. This is Brock Purdy's team. I hate the term saying it's someone's team. It's everyone's team. I despise that remark.
The phrase everybody uses.
I'm just saying what Mac Jones said. He says, look, I'm the backup. Brock Purdy's the starter. There's no controversy at all. That's what Mac Jones said. And he handled it beautifully that way. There shouldn't be any controversy. Everyone should know Brock Purdy is the start on that team when he comes back, unless Keith, you have an unusual situation when Dak Prescott played ridiculously well when Tony Romo was out overlong. Dak Prescott was so ridiculously good, you couldn't go back to Tony Romo.
Here's the thing, though, with that situation in San Francisco, and I think it's a great example. If Purdy, I've never been a big believer in you lose your job to injury necessarily, unless somebody goes crazy, right? We all thought Belichick was crazy when he stuck with Brady over Bledsoe, until we know after the fact some of the stuff we know. But if Purdy does come back and reclaim his job and plays poorly, it's pretty easy, I think, in that situation. I know they paid him a boatload of money, but to me, it's still easy to go back to Mac Jones because it's about winning football games, as you said before.
It's not easy. Mac Jones is never going to be an elite quarterback in the sense you're never going to say Mac Jones is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Can he be a good, competent starting quarterback? Yeah, of course. He was his rookie year in New England. and he's been that for the 49ers.
In the right situation, in the right system, Mac Jones.
In the right system. And no one.
Another great example. You can flourish in the right circumstance, in the right system, right?
Right. So Joe Flacco yesterday, he flourished under the right circumstance.
Yeah.
We're seeing it with Daniel Jones, but Daniel Jones could conceivably, and I would back this up, be the Colts starter for years to come. He's auditioning, and he's killing it during these auditions. He's doing a great job during the This is an audition year for me, as far as I'm concerned.
He hasn't sold you yet?
With that, no, I mean, I think he's good enough with the right team, the way the Colts are playing to start. And this weekend they play the LA Chargers, and even if the Chargers have been struggling, this is a good test for Daniel Jones. If he plays well, and I suspect he very well might, and the Colts win the game, I start to become comfortable with Daniel Jones as a starter. But remember, the wheels fall off at some point unless the guy you're certain he's the real thing. Look, Sam Darnold, I knew he was going to have a good year with the Vikings last year. He had an exceptionally good year until the last two games. The wheels fell off.
The two most important games.
Yeah, the wheels fell off. But now he's with Seattle, and he's doing well there, and he's a competent starting quarterback. He's a good, you could argue he's a good starting quarterback if you want, even though I still suspect we need a little more of a body of work going forward, even though it's been like close to a year and a half.
He's had a couple of meltdowns late in games, though, that have cost them games. Well, it helped cost them games, not just him. But
he's good. But all in all, Sam Darnold's a good quarterback. And maybe, even though he's been in the NFL for years, he's going to start improving because he didn't have a lot of college experience. So maybe there's a little upside there to get better. And listen, Daniel Jones has been good. I'm not hating on Daniel Jones, but when a guy's been in the league 6 years before that and had 5 not good years and 1 good year, and the 1 year that he had a good year, he totally disappeared in the playoff elimination game. I want to see more body work. I don't want to get excited over 5-6 games.
We talked about there are some good storylines. I think there's some what I want to call like turning a corner games maybe this weekend. I like the Eagles, Vikings, Redskins and Cowboys, Falcons and 49ers all feel like games that could like a team could turn a corner. You're going to learn about both of these teams and where they might be going from here. The Vikings, Eagles, especially for me, I think is an important game for both of those teams.
Well, the Eagles have lost 2 in a row.
Yeah.
If they lost 3 in a row, now things are really getting ugly. Really, really getting ugly. And people have short memories. I mean, the Eagles, Super Bowl champions, have went to the Super Bowl the last 2 out of the last 3 years. And now we're starting to question, well, is Jalen Hurts a good pocket passer? Can he get the ball to the receivers and all? And Eagles badly need a win here to straighten the ship out.
They do.
There's a storyline. Carson Wentz, I mean, coming back, to play his own team now. The game's in Minnesota. It's not in Philadelphia. So the storyline would have been a bit different. Carson Wentz returning to Philadelphia. I'm curious what kind of ovation he would get.
It would be interesting. Danny, and with
momentum is as good as a snap of the finger. I mean, listen, Seattle Mariners 2-0 up against the Toronto Blue Jays. They're going home to wrap things up to go to their first World Series. They got all the momentum.
Well, let's pivot. Let's pivot.
Starter hits a home run on the Blue Jays, and what happens to the momentum?
Let's pivot to Major League Baseball for a moment. And Rick, you got a couple questions that I'll get to because I do have both of those things I was going to touch on, but I didn't want to just disrupt what we were talking about. So let's pivot to Major League Baseball a little bit. It's been very interesting. The Dodgers have been just dominating the Brewers in my mind because of starting pitching. And I went up. They are better. Their starting pitching been lights out. I know Danny's gonna have a quote come up here because I talked many times this year about I thought the Mariners pitching was
running the momentum. The Dodgers are just better. That's all there is.
All right.
I've said that all year. The Dodgers are the best team. Ignore the record and ignore the momentum.
You can't ignore momentum. They have tremendous momentum going forward from here because their starting pitching is pitching lights out. Roberts is, and here's the other thing too. Let's not lose sight of this. Glasnow didn't pitch a lot of innings yesterday. He did throw 100 pitches, which is a lot today, I guess. But in the first two games, he let his starting pitchers go 8 innings and a complete game. How about we learn from that, guys, and watch when you got a starting pitching who's dominating out there, you don't just take them out because your little index card says you have to. So congratulations to Dave Roberts for that. And there is some momentum there. Their pitching has been carrying them. They aren't hitting the crap out of the ball. The Brewers aren't hitting it all. But that's got a lot toward because of the Dodgers starting pitching and relief pitching. Sazaki's been tremendous out of the bullpen. Him getting healthy late in the year has been a big boost for this team. Being able to use him for an inning, almost every day if they need to out of the bullpen. This team.
Well, you know what's going to be interesting, Keith? When the Dodgers win the World Series, I'm not saying if, when they win the World Series, it's going to be back-to-back World Series. And they have elite players. When you look at their roster, their number Hall of Famers on their roster right now. Guys who are certain to wind up in the Hall of Fame. And we're going to start asking, well, should we have a salary cap in baseball? Because the Dodgers could spend all this money. But you want to know something? The other teams can spend money just like the Dodgers. But players like going to Los Angeles. It's a destination place to go. Ohtani's contract was on paper $70 million a year, which is outlandish. But with deferred payments, it came out to 47 something, which is along the lines of what Juan Soto got in reality.
He's not even getting that. He's getting like $7 million a year is what he's getting paid. And after the deferred payments, they are what? Listen, Dodgers are a great team. They found a way to circumvent the salary cap, and God bless them for being able to do it. That's what happened there. And everybody can't spend the same way. There's like 6 teams in baseball that can compete for an Ohtani and that type of talent.
Where he wants to go, if he wanted to be a Boston Red Sox, they would have gotten the money up.
How about the Royals? How about the Royals? How about the Rockies?
Philadelphia Phillies. Why on earth would he want to go to the Colorado Rockies? Are you kidding? That would be like a baseball jail sentence for him. If say the Rockies were, the Royals are a good example. It's a decent baseball team, a decent organization. They got no shot at Ohtani or Judge or Soto. They don't. And listen, I'm okay with that because there are haves and have-nots in the world in general. And I'm okay with that. George Steinbrenner always said about revenue sharing, he said, if I wanted to buy the Kansas City Royals, I'd bought the Kansas City Royals. I bought the Yankees. I shouldn't have. I remember with Max Kellerman, I haven't spoken to him for a while, but a friend of mine, he said something that was thought-provoking a while ago. The teams with the most fans should be entitled to get the best players because you got the most fans. So don't put down that entitlement. The Yankees, for example, have a heck of a lot more fans than the Colorado Rockies. So they should be in with a better chance to get players. I don't want to see this parity forced on us. I hate when parity is forced on us. Let the Dodgers try to load up. But you want to know something? We should know from experience. You load up and keep signing these free agents. Eventually, it backfires on you. Eventually, because they age.
Yeah.
You give them long-term contracts. They age. And these contracts come back to bite you, and you don't know what to do with the players with these contracts. You're kind of stuck with them. I kind of wonder, and what's your opinion? Are the Yankees, in a sense, stuck with Giancarlo Stanton? In a sense.
In a sense, yes. But you know that I have said for quite some time, they're the Yankees. They can afford to eat the money. They just can't. And if they wanted to dump them, they could. They can't chase. A lot of Yankee fans are out there saying, "Oh, go out and get Kyle Schwarber." Well, you can't as long as Stanton's on this roster. So
There's a certain amount every team's allowed to spend. Then there are penalties where you have to, pay the price way above what you're paying for the player. I forgot what the name is in the revenue sharing.
Luxury tax or
Luxury
something.
tax, that's the term, exactly. Yeah. And Hal Steinbrenner, the Yankee owner, okay? Steve Cohen, the Met owner. I mean, as much as they love their teams and they genuinely want their teams to win, and most of the other owners as well, at the end, it's the bottom line. If you're going to lose a substantial sum of money, it's a terrible business investment. Look, I love the Yankees.
Cohen hasn't been afraid to pay that tax.
If someone says to me the Yankees can win the World Series, but I'm taking 25% of your net income for the, off out of your bank account or whatever, I wouldn't be so gung-ho with the Yankees when I'll say, no, I don't want to lose the money and I'll take my chances otherwise.
Well, I agree. And listen, to Brian's point, I don't think parity is great for sports at all. Now, I don't.
We have parity, Brian. We have parity. Now, we have it.
Let me finish. I don't want to penalize teams. I don't disagree. Find the money somewhere. If you want to compete, if you want to own a Major League Baseball team, for instance, then find the money to actually put a competitive roster together. I don't want revenue sharing. I don't want, minimum. Well, I think there should be minimum payrolls as well, by the way. But parity's not good. I'm sorry. Baseball, football, sports in my lifetime has always had really good teams and really bad teams, and that's okay. It gives you teams to root for, teams to root against, and I don't think that's a bad thing. It's bad for those cities if your team doesn't want to get better, that's on your team. It shouldn't be up to baseball to help the Colorado Rockies be good. It shouldn't be up to them.
Colorado Rockies are putting nothing into their team, and some teams, some owners want to win a lot more than others. That's called competition. Yeah. How often the teams repeat? The Dodgers are going to win the World Series this year. So they're going to be the first team to have repeated in a long, long time in Major League Baseball. That's fine back to back. It's in other sports, the Kansas City Chiefs, they've won 2 in a row. No Super Bowl team in the Super Bowl era has won 3 in a row, even though in a sense the Packers did because they won the year before the Super Bowl came into existence. But that shows you the parity. Let the Buffalo Bills beat it. They could have beaten the Chiefs those games in the playoffs. That had nothing to do with spending them. The Golden State Warriors, who had their little mini run, with in the Steph Curry era. I mean, the Chicago Bulls, they were just.
If you're a fan and you're mad because all the same teams win every year, well, then tell your team to go out and get better. Yeah. That's how you answer. You get better. And Danny's got a great point about owners won't spend money. Make them spend money. There should be they're worried about a maximum cap, and I don't have a problem with the luxury tax like he said before either. If you go over a certain amount, fine. The team's got the money. But then it needs to be a minimum cap because these teams shouldn't be able to go out there and have $20 million payrolls. That's just ridiculous in today's day and age. And maybe that's where Brian's going. I don't want them to make teams, bring the best teams down to where the lower teams are. If you want to make the lower teams get better because you want to make them spend money, that's fine with me.
And I agree. And you have to use imagination. Case in point. Boston Red Sox had a chance to sign Mookie Betts and retain him. They didn't go all out. Yeah. They could have made Betts a Red Sox for life. Guess what? He wouldn't be on the Dodgers now, and that would certainly hurt L.A. The Baltimore Orioles had Manny Machado. Sign him now. Don't wait till he becomes a free agent and you can't afford him. Give him the good contract when he's 2-3 years away from free agency. And you have to have a vision. Right. Money that you think is a lot now, you're going to offer later. Like the Yankees with Aaron Judge, they signed him for $40 million a year. And now, you want to know something? They couldn't sign Aaron Judge for $40 million a year. They would have to pay $50 million to Aaron Judge in order to sign him. Because I'm going to tell you, if Aaron Judge were a free agent now, he could get a 6-year deal for something like $52 million a year elsewhere. some team would come out and pay him.
I said even during Judge's free agency, I mean, he's worth more to the Yankees than he is to any other team because of who he is. He's the face of the franchise, and everything off the field also adds up to money in their coffers, right? So $60 million for Aaron Judge is a freaking bargain, as you just said, in my mind.
40 million. That's what got me when he was 1 year from free agency. Brian Cashman, who I like a lot. I think he's a Hall of Fame. I want him to stay with the Yankees. He's done great things. I think made a total fool of himself by lying out the contract offer to Judge. Oh, he's getting $30 million a year for these 7 years. I thought it was a total embarrassment by them trying to embarrass Judge. And I said it at the time. I would have sat Judge down and said, I think you're making a massive mistake if you sign this contract. A terrible mistake. Not that it was an unfair contract. It was fair in the sense, the number, but you could get so much more than this. And Cashman, he has no visions as far as what he should offer free agents and so on. But, I think he's a great GM otherwise.
Well, he did it to Jeter, too, near the end of Jeter's career, if you remember.
Embarrassing what he did
knew,
to Cashman.
And I think it was more of an embarrassment to Jeter because he knew Jeter wasn't going to go out and get the money elsewhere because he's too old and, whatever. But
I don't know, could I ever forgive? If I would cheat, I don't know would I ever have been able to forgive the Yankee organization. Yes, I would have signed the contract because I'd want to remain a Yankee for my career, my legacy, the records, the whole bit. But you want to know something? I would have just shown up, played the games, did what I had to do at the press conferences, answer questions. But as soon as my career is over, the heck with you guys. I don't know, am I coming back? You want to retire my number? Retire it without me. Or please don't retire it. I'm in no mood for ceremony. I'm pretty ticked off what you guys did before. I would make the Yankees grovel to make things right. I would have them take out full-page ads in the newspaper apologizing over the conduct and everything involved.
Yeah, I don't think there's a question whether Derek Jeter's gotten over it. He has not gotten over it. I think it's easy to see when you listen to him talk about the organization.
I think he's gotten over it. They retired his number. He came back to the stadium.
That's one thing. He's got class, and he's going to show up for that, and he's going to say all the right things. But if you just read between the lines when he's commenting on the Yankees, whether it's in the paper or as part of his studio job, you can read between the lines. He is not happy with the way things went with the Yankees late in his career. He's just
but keep in mind when they did that documentary, The Captain, he talked about with Brian Cashman. He had a walk with Brian Cashman, and they patched things up. He said to move on. But maybe maybe there's resentment. Then there should be resentment.
I think so too.
And you want to know something? There should be resentment on Judge's part. I mean, I would love to hear Judge come out and just make reference, say, look, they did the same thing to Derek and myself. I thought it was classless on the part of the organization, the way they handled things. There's a complete lack of class, and they should really apologize to Derek. And, as far as I go, I'm giving the organization my all, but I didn't like what they did with Derek and myself. Do you know how embarrassing that would be to the Yankee organization?
Very.
Judge came out and whatever. It still bothers me.
I'm not sure what any means here. Mets spent money to miss the playoffs. I get that. Kevin with wild card, Keith's favorite.
The contract is going to be the big talk.
Yeah.
And, people don't understand contracts the way they work. I mean, and fans especially are the worst to evaluate. They'll hear, well, Pete Alonso, he was offered $20 million a year. You got to take it if you want to be a Met. I mean, that's stupidity on the fans' part. Because if you told any of these fans, if they had a choice of different jobs to go to, and you told them, a guy who's, let's say, could get $80,000 a year. I'm just throwing a figure. Oh, take the job for $50,000 a year when he could get $90,000 elsewhere. It's just
Everybody's going to take the money.
Alonso, I heard on the show, one of the commentators saying, well, what should the Mets give him? $187.5 million for 5 years, like $37.5 million a year. They're not going to offer him that.
What do you think? What did he settle on? 25 last year?
Yeah, they gave him a 2-year deal when he was a free agent. $30 million the first year, $24 million the second year, but he had an opt-out, which he used wisely.
Yeah.
And what the most the Mets might do, he had a big year. If Steve Cohen is in the most generous of moods, and I doubt if this is going to be the case, I doubt it, he would pay him $100 million for 3 years. And that's going overboard on my part. He is not giving Alonso a 5-year deal at 35. I don't think Alonso gets more than 30 million. Maybe Steve Cohen makes it 31 million. But I'm going to tell you this. The Alonso thing is going to the negotiation, because Scott Boras is his agent, this is going to last the whole winter.
It'll last at a spring training, probably.
Yeah. Might a team give him a 3-year deal, a contender, whatever? People have him linked somewhat to the Yankees, but if the Yankees weren't interested in him last year, why would they this year? And the Yankees are too smart to offer more than, let's say, a 3-year contract.
Yeah. I think they want a better glove over there at first base anyway, myself.
Well, I think Ben Rice is going to be the Yankee first base next year. They're going to move. And Paul Goldschmidt retired. That was on social media. Was that a social media thing?
He has indicated he will not be back next year. Whether he's retired.
The Yankees aren't going to have him back. He was a good Yankee for the 1 year. And 1 year, $12.5 million. You know, they kind of have to move on.
He's had a nice career, and I think it's time for him to move on. Alonso, to the Alonso point, I'm not sure that you look at last year they made the playoffs. This year he had a little bit better year, right?
A lot better. Yeah, he had a great year this year. Give him his due. He had a really top line year.
But that's the best you're going to get out of Pete Alonso. It's not getting better than he got last year. He's on the other side of 30. I don't see the Mets going a lot deeper and a lot more years than they went last year, quite frankly.
They were willing to give him 2 years, $54 million for 2 years, but he got 30 the first year, and then he opted out of the $24 million. They'll probably give him an opt-out again. Maybe they'll give him a 3-year deal. For all I know, the Mets might give him $96 million for 3 years. He can opt out after the first and second year. Here we go again. I hate these opt-outs, Keith. I would basically let him know beforehand, before we talk about years and dollars, there can't be any opt-outs.
Yeah, I agree.
There can't be any opt-outs unless you give us an opt-out.
I'll give you, generational money for 10 years, but I'm not giving you an opt-out ever. So anyway, Rick had put this up earlier. Yankees already, right now, Cole, Rondon, and Volpe will at least miss the first part of the season. Cole won't be ready. Volpe's had surgery on his shoulder, as Rick said, and Rondon had some surgery to clean up some stuff in his arm that's going to keep him out early in the year next year. So already the Yankees in the news for 26.
Keith, we're in October, and Anthony Volpe reportedly it's going to take 4 months to recover from surgery.
I don't think it put the season in jeopardy. They said the beginning of the season he would probably miss.
Right. So he'll be fine. I mean, he'll be back in May or June and maybe the end of April. Who knows? Maybe he'll even be there at the beginning of the season. I mean, we don't know for sure. I would put my stock in Volpe still. I know how terrible he looked at the end of the year, with all those strikeouts. Was it because of the shoulder now? You kind of have to wonder now that contributed to it. But I'm going to tell you this. He got it together defensively. I want Anthony Volpe to make my shortstop long term. I know the Yankees' top prospect, George Lombard, is outstanding defensively, but he doesn't hit. He doesn't hit on the minor league level. So how can you look at him necessarily as being your future guy? Or between Lombard and Volpe, one of them could be a third baseman maybe going forward.
We don't know whether Lombard hasn't hit. That's Correct, but there's a lot of guys who don't hit in the minors before they get to the majors. Derek Jeter didn't hit much in the minors, quite frankly, and a lot of guys haven't. But Volpe's got until Lombard's ready, at least to show he's the Yankee shortstop, and I would stay with the plan. A lot of his errors last year, and I was down on him for a while. Obviously, a lot of his errors were throwing errors last year. He didn't use this as an excuse. So good for him. We didn't pick up real quick. We got to get some college. Your Dodgers wrap it up tonight?
They might lose a game. It wouldn't be a big deal. They might lose. It's one game. I kind of feel if push comes to shove, I think the Brewers upset them and win it one game. The Dodgers win it in 5. It's Dodgers are home, so it's not a big deal. It's not like they're going to have to travel if they lose tonight's game for Game 5.
And the weird Seattle. I still like Seattle in this series, but it's very weird. No home teams won a game yet. That's very interesting.
Seattle, I think, will win the next 2 games.
Yeah.
Go to the World Series and get swept by the Dodgers.
Rematch of Game 1.
Long-term prediction. College here.
Real quick before we get into our picks, Rick had a comment up here, and I want to get it because I said on my Wednesday show that Curt Cignetti would not be the next Penn State coach, and Indiana would wrap him up long-term, and they did. 8 years, I think, $93 million extension for Curt Cignetti.
What's he getting, like $11.5 million a year? So the college coaches are getting paid more than NFL coaches.
The top guys are all over. Kirby Smart's at like $12 million. Yeah, these guys are.
These are supposed to be universities, an institute of higher learning, as opposed to an NFL, which is all about profit. Yet the college coaches get paid more. Okay, good for that. Good for them if they can get the money.
Listen, I'm all for people get whatever somebody's willing to pay you. You're worth it. Whether you earn it, that's different. And by the way, because I had this discussion with my wife all the time, she's like, "Oh, they pay these guys, $48 million to go away, $75 million to go away. That hurts the institution." This all comes out of the sports budget. It has nothing to do with the college students' daily life. It doesn't affect the institution even a little bit. The sports money comes out of the sports budget, which is built by TV, alumni, and whatever else. So it really has nothing to do with the.
Like someone once told me who went to Ohio State, it's great for sports, lousy for education. Now, I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying what someone once told me. Well, I have to assume it's a school where, you can get a great education.
If you go to get an education, you're going to get a great education at most of these schools. If you go to play football, maybe you won't. So anyway, last week in our picks, Jack had a winner in Texas. Nice pick there. They beat Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry. He lost on LSU and Illinois. He stands at 11-12. I also had 2 losers, but I did have an upset winner in South Florida. I lost on Penn State. Oh, God. Sorry, James Franklin. I might have got you fired.
Wow.
I lost on what the hell else did I take here? I can't read my writing.
You gave 25 points and lost the game.
Yeah, I gave 18.5 with Army. They didn't cover, but South Florida blew them out. I stand at 10-12. Jack's still leading me by half a game here.
Nothing to brag about.
Give me your picks for this week. Your 2 favorites.
Yeah. I'm going to take Miami. Carson Beck leading them, giving the 13.5 points to Louisville.
Yeah, that's tonight.
I don't think much of Louisville.
Don't miss it. That game's tonight. Don't miss it. So
yeah. And Nebraska.
On the road.
I like Coach Rule. I love watching him come on with Pat McAfee, do those interviews. He really seems into it. He really seems to love his job. And I kind of wonder whether he's going to go to Penn State. That's the big question.
He's the guy with no ties.
And for Nebraska, but he's got Penn State hanging over his head. They have the interim coach at Penn State. And
you wonder if it's a distraction.
You wonder whether if Penn State wins out the rest of the year for the most part. No, Rule is going to probably still stay at Nebraska. Penn State struggles. I believe they make a move on them. I'm going to take Nebraska, giving the 6.5 points in Minnesota. I'm surprised it's not. I don't have to give more.
At Minnesota. What's your
Minnesota, right.
Yeah. And I still like Nebraska to get to the Big Ten championship game, I'll tell you.
Yeah. And my underdog, I'll take Ole Miss with the 7.5 points against Georgia. Something's missing with this Georgia team. I can't put my thing on it, but something is missing. And Ole Miss 7.5, I think they could keep it reasonably close, if not win the game.
I agree. I went a totally different direction. I stayed away from the Power Four conferences this week, trying to break this mediocre streak I'm on. I have in my favorite column, I have James Madison over Old Dominion down in the Sun Belt Conference. James Madison had some playoff aspirations as a group of five. They're not going to make it because I think it's coming out of the American. They're 1.5 favorite over Old Dominion. I'll take them. Out in the Mountain West, I like two games. I like, as a favorite, Colorado State against Hawaii, who doesn't travel. They're playing pretty good football, but they don't travel great. I like Colorado State -2.5 in this game. And I'm shocked that UNLV and Dan Mullen are traveling to Boise State, playing on the bluegrass, and getting 12.5. To me, they're the best team in the Mountain West. Boise State's still okay. This is a better league than you think, too, by the way. I love the Mountain West, and I love the football out there. I'm going to take the 12.5 points, and I think UNLV wins this game outright, quite frankly. So there you have it. And we'll have those results for you Monday. We'll talk more about the NFL season. We should have 2 playoff results, I think, by Monday. And we'll know who the World Series competitors are. And guys,
well, the Dodgers, Seattle, Toronto's intriguing, best 2 out of 3, and they play tonight. And like you said before, the home team hasn't won a game in that series. There's so much for home field advantage.
Agreed. Jack and
we come on, Danny. We come on, Frank and myself, Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time.
Yep, and tomorrow the debate show. Tomorrow's a debate show, correct?
Correct.
With you and James. Hope James is feeling better, by the way. And I know he was a little under weather the other night. And I'll be on Sunday with the Sunday Stream of Consciousness at 9 a.m. And we'll both be on the Big Football Show. Jack for 2 hours. I'll be on the first hour Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern. So join us then, guys. Great Friday. A little fireworks today. I love it. Guys, have a great weekend. Bye-bye.